Copa Libertadores is about to begin, and so here in Rank Talks Bowl we're gonna predict all the round 1 matches of the Copa Libertadores 2024. The reigning champions Fluminense have to travel all the way to Matute to play against Alianza Lima. Alianza Lima, after a disappointing end to the Peruvian league, are here to find some better results in Copa Libertadores for once, as they have finished bottom of the group in their last 7 appearances. Meanwhile, Fluminense are coming in strong after winning the previous edition and still keeping most of their players like Keno, Cano, John Arias, Ganso, Marcelo, Andre, so really the possibilities are stacked against Alianza Lima in this case, and so I'm gonna give Fluminense the victory on this one. The other match of this group will take place in Santiago as Colo-Colo received Cerro Porteño in their stadium. Colo-Colo also had a disappointing end to the league but managed to win the National Cup to qualify here to Copa Libertadores. Meanwhile, Cerro Porteño come here after finishing second in the Paraguayan league and have a lot to prove after their disappointing finish in the last edition. Very tough game to call, and it's gonna be a crucial game for both teams, as obviously we know that Fluminense are the favorites to top the group and Alianza Lima are probably the favorites to finish bottom, so this game could be a group decider early on. In this case, because they are the home team, I'm gonna give the win to Colo-Colo. I think that they are gonna do the bare minimum and just barely win this game, and Cerro Porteño once again are gonna be left disappointed. Chile is gonna host another match, this time in Group B, because Cobresal is gonna host Barcelona. The most popular club in Ecuador had a disappointing finish to last year's edition of the Copa Libertadores, and Cobresal, who were looking like the favorites to win the Chilean league, bottled it in the last match day to finish in the second position. Still, this earned them a qualification to Copa Libertadores, which many people did not expect. This one should be really close. I feel like Barcelona has the quality to compete against Cobresal in their stadium, but El Ídolo has been very disappointing in their start of the Ecuadorian league. I feel like just because of their recent form, I'm gonna give the win to Cobresal, but it's gonna be a very close game and I wouldn't be surprised if Barcelona can pick up a result. The other game of this group will take place in Argentina as Talleres hosts San Pablo. Talleres was one of the most consistent teams in the Argentinian league last year. They finished second in the league behind the River Plate, but they had a disappointing end in the League Cup. Meanwhile, Sao Paulo, on the other end, had a disappointing finish in the Serie A, but managed to win the Copa do Brasil. Very contrasting styles. I feel like Sao Paulo is probably on a downward trend, meanwhile Talleres are looking mighty fine at the moment. And I feel like home advantage is gonna play a huge role in this one. So yes, I'm gonna give the win to Talleres. The champions of the Chilean league, Huachipato, host Estudiantes from La Plata. Huachipato obviously stunned everyone by winning the Chilean league last year and are looking like Chile's best chance to cause some damage. Meanwhile, Estudiantes qualified here after winning Copa Argentina, and even though they started this year great after going undefeated their first 9 matches, they lost their last 2 and are going into a bit of a slump just before this crucial game. I feel like Estudiantes still has the better team, but Huachipato could cause a lot of trouble in their home stadium. I'm gonna sit on the fence on this one and say that this one ends in a draw. Next, we travel to the altitude of Bolivia as the strongest hosts Gremio. The strongest had a disappointing finish last year in Copa Libertadores and did not manage to win the title in Bolivia as well. Meanwhile, Gremio had a resurgence after coming back from the second division and managed to make a push for Brasileirao last year, although they weren't able to win it, but they still qualified for Copa Libertadores in a very competitive league. They've lost their main man Luis Suarez, but they got Diego Costa to replace him and many more players to provide for him. This one is really hard to call because I feel like if Gremio score early, they could run away with the game, but if the strongest manages to keep the game calm, I feel like they could be the ones to take the victory. Again, I feel like this one could go either way. The altitude plays a big factor. I'm gonna predict a draw, but I could honestly see either team winning this one. The champions of the Peruvian league, Universitario, will host the champions of the Copa Sudamericana, Liga de Quito. Universitario became the champions of Peru in the home stadium of their rivals Alianza Lima, who decided to ruin the party by causing a blackout in their own stadium. Meanwhile, Liga de Quito in a dramatic final managed to edge Fortaleza on penalties to win their second Copa Sudamericana. Universitario definitely have a lot of talent and their stadium is not an easy place to travel to, but I feel like Liga de Quito simply has too much quality for this side. So I'm gonna give Liga de Quito the win. Next in Brazil we have Botafogo against Junior. In heartbreaking fashion, Botafogo bottled the league last year and had to contend with qualifying to an intercontinental competition. Meanwhile, Junior are looking like one of the scariest teams and most talented to come out of the Colombian league. The team from Barranquilla made some huge signings and are looking to progress from the group stage once again. But I feel like I just cannot trust Colombian teams, especially traveling away to Brazil, so I'm gonna give Botafogo the win. Another Colombia against Brazil matchup, as we have Millonarios hosting Flamengo. Millonarios has been over the last few years one of the most consistent sides in Colombian football. They qualified for Copa Libertadores once again, and they will have to face one of the strongest teams in the competition. Millonarios does have some good players, but I feel like this is an easy prediction. I'm gonna give it to Flamengo. The other game of this group is gonna be Palestino up against Bolívar. Palestino was one of the most surprising sides of the Chilean league last year. They finished in the 3rd position and earned themselves a ticket to the preliminary stages of the Copa Libertadores, which they managed to push through to qualify for the group stage. Meanwhile, Bolívar last year were the Cinderella story of the Copa Libertadores, as they made it all the way to the quarterfinals, giving some great matches like beating Palmeiras in the group and knocking out Atlético Paranaense in the round of 16. Bolívar has some great players and they've shown that they are competitive in the international stage, but playing at sea level could be very difficult for them, as Palestino are not an easy team to deal with. I'm gonna say that this one ends in a draw. Liverpool are looking to bounce back after a heavy defeat against Manchester United in the FA Cup. Liverpool are looking to surprise some people after their disappointing finish in Copa Libertadores last year. Same thing for Independiente del Valle, who bombed out in the round of 16 against Deportivo Pereira in the last edition. We all know that Independiente del Valle is a great club with a great project and great players coming out from their academy, like Kendry Páez, who's still gonna stick with them before going to Chelsea in 2024. Independiente del Valle is a team that has disappointed in Copa Libertadores in the last few years, but I know that they have enough to beat this Liverpool side, so I'm gonna predict them to win. The other match of this group is another Argentina against Brazil match, as we have San Lorenzo hosting Palmeiras. San Lorenzo made a speedy recovery in 2023, being competitive in Copa Sudamericana and also having strong performances in the league, which earned them a ticket to Copa Libertadores. Palmeiras, on the other hand, lost in the semi-finals against Boca and are looking to bounce back and make it to the Final Four once again. The team from Sao Paulo are once again one of the favorites to take the title. Meanwhile, San Lorenzo are looking like one of the dark horses. And their stadium in Bajo Flores is one of the harshest atmospheres to travel to. This one is really hard to call because San Lorenzo has been really inconsistent, but at home they could cause trouble to this Palmeiras side. I'm gonna predict San Lorenzo to be defensively solid and hold Palmeiras to a draw in this one. Caracas are trying to hold on to some pride for Venezuela as they host Atlético Mineiro. Caracas has consistently been to international competition as they are one of the best teams from the Venezuelan league. Meanwhile, Atlético Mineiro with Paulinho and Hulky made a great push for the Brasileirao last year, but again fell short to Palmeiras in the end. This one should be no trouble for Atlético Mineiro. With their great squad and their current form, they should be able to sweep aside the Venezuelan team. The other match from this group is gonna be Rosario Central against Peñarol. El Carbonero is one of the most historic teams of the Copa Libertadores, having a total of 5 titles. However, they have not made a final since 2011 and have not won a title since the 80s. And last year they were in Copa Sudamericana, where they finished with 0 points in their group. Meanwhile, Rosario Central are the defending champions of the Leagues Cup of the Argentine League. The team managed by Miguel Ángel Russo is one of the main contenders to make the quarterfinals in this edition, with Campas and Malcorra as the players to look out for. Peñarol definitely have the most heritage out of the two, but Rosario Central have the better form and come from a stronger league, so I'm gonna give them the win. The last group sees Deportivo Táchira hosting River Plate. Táchira is the only region in Venezuela that prefers football ahead of baseball, so their football team has been one of the best over the last few years. Meanwhile, River Plate, after winning the league last year, are looking to bounce back after 2 consecutive round of 16 exits in the last 2 editions of the Copa Libertadores. Táchira are by no means a bad team, and the travel for Venezuela is gonna be very harsh for River, as it's a long distance to cover during the middle of the week. It won't be easy, but I'm gonna give the win to River. If they show up on the day, they should have no trouble beating Táchira. And the final game we'll be covering today is Nacional against Libertad. The champions of Paraguay are looking to redeem themselves and make a quarter-final appearance, which they haven't done in a long time. Meanwhile, Nacional, who went out in the round of 16 of the last edition, are looking for some redemption for the Uruguay League, who hasn't performed great in the last few editions of international tournaments. This one is very hard to call. I feel like it could go either way, and both of these teams are the nation's best hope at a deep run. I feel like I have to predict a draw. It's gonna be very difficult for either of these teams to break through. So those are my predictions. Make sure to comment down below which are yours and which team you think is gonna win Copa Libertadores this year. We're gonna be back next week with predictions for round 2. I'll be seeing you guys next time.